Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Hi Rogers, can I ask you something?
Shoot.
What does corruption mean?
Well, summarily, corruption is abuse of public power for personal gain or for the benefit of a group to which one owes allegiance. For example, when a public office is abused by an official accepting or soliciting a bribe. By the way, private people can be corrupt too, like bribing police officers to escape fines.
Okay. So exactly how does that concern me?
Well, do you pay taxes?
I guess, yeah. What does that have to do with this?
Everything. Because those taxes you pay are supposed to facilitate services you use, like water, electricity, roads construction, medicines in hospitals, name it.
Okay, that is much bigger than I thought. But it can be stopped, right?
Well, yes it can, although it may not be as easy as it sounds. And here is the reason why. Corruption roots are grounded in our country's social, political, economic, bureaucratic traditions and policies.
So, what has kept it going this long? I mean, why don't we stop it?
Well, the main reason why it has been here for so long is because institutions are weak, either as a result of poorly defined ethical standards of public service, weak administrative and financial systems, or ineffective watchdog agencies.
What can we do to stop it?
At a national level, we must focus on strengthening the independence and effectiveness of public institutions that fight corruption. At a personal level, we must commit to never giving a bribe.
I promise I'll never give a bribe.
Well, that's a great decision you have made. Me and you now have to spread this message to all our friends. If we all do our part, corruption will be no more.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digital.
Looking for a pair of shoes? Les Up Stores has a wide range of selection for unisex footwear. We have the best quality of all brands at pocket-friendly prices and with neck deliveries countrywide. Just place your order or reach us on 0772 08 0090. You can also check up at Les Up Stores on all our social media platforms. Les Up, craft your own footprints.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Nyo wano ku Digital TV amanyanze Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. Happy Easter from the entire Digital TV team. Twagala okubebaza era okubanga mwaliisemu olunaku ate okubanga mulimu Easter Monday olunaku luno olwaleero. Abatakimanyi Easter lwe lunaku abalokole oba abakristu bakkiriza ne bakuŋŋaana ne bajjukira okufa n'okuzuukira kwa Yesu Kristo okwo nga kwe balowooza kyekimu ku bikolwa ebyali bibaddewo eby'amaanyi mu byafaayo by'ensi eno. Emyaka egisoba mu 1200 emabega waliwo omwami eyajja wano ku nsi era abamu bakkiriza nti yali mwana wa Katonda era yasobola okuba nga afiirira ebibi byabwe. Yamala mu ntaana ennaku zaali 3 n'asobola okuba nga yambuka okuva mu ntaana n'azuukira era emyaka 1200 kiyiseewo era tusigala tukyajjukira luno olunaku. Happy Easter wonna weba ekusanze abali mu ggwanga lya Uganda. Happy Easter n'abali wabweru w'eggwanga mwenna twagala okuba nga tubaagaliza Easter oba Pasika ennungi ddala. Olunaku olwaleero z'ennaku z'omwezi 21 olunaku lwa Monday omwezi tuli mu Gwakuna omwaka 2025. Bingi ebigenda maaso mu ggwanga ne wabweru w'eggwanga olunaku luno olwaleero wendi okubanga mbibatuusaako. Tulina munnamateeka Counsel Tumusiime ono nno munnamateeka era nga alitigetingira mu kooti oba nga awoza amateeka mu kooti zonna eza Uganda ate nga y'omu ku bannamateeka b'omwami retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye. Wetugenda okuba nga tutunuulira ensonga ezigenda mu maaso mu ggwanga ne wabweru w'eggwanga era kyenkusaba twegatteko ku Digital TV ne ku mukutu The Alternative Uganda wali ku Facebook wamu ne ku X ne ku YouTube wonna tubeerayo nga tunyumyamu emboozi nammwe naye nga tetunaba kuba nga tuyingira mu mawulire agabadde agagenda maaso mu ggwanga munzikirize ngende mu mawulire agali wano ne wabweru w'eggwanga nga tunayingira ku mboozi ya Counsel Tumusiime ngenda tandikirako n'emboozi ya okufa kw'omwami yaweereza lino eggwanga retired Major John Kazora. Olunaku lw'eggulo yavudde mu bulamu bw'ensi. Omwami ono ajjukirwa nnyo kubanga yaweereza lino eggwanga era ng'omu ku balwanirizi b'eddembe oba be tuyita abalwanyi abasobola okubanga bakwata obuyinza mu mwaka gwa 1986. John Kazora ono asingiddwa okubanga amanyibwa nnyo naddala mu nsonga za Uganda ku lw'akatabo ke yawandiika ke yali alaga obutali bumatuvu bwe ku ngeri ki eggwanga gye litwaliddwamu ne ku revolution engeri gye bataagifunamu mu mbeera eyo. John Kazora yawandiika akatabo bakayita Betrayed by My Leader era omwami ono abadde musaale nnyo mu kwogera ku nsonga ezibadde zitagenda bulungi mu ggwanga lya Uganda. Omwami ono yazaalibwa omwaka gwali gwa 1958 ennaku z'omwezi zaali 4 omwezi gwali gwa 8 oba August omwaka 1958 lwe yasobola okubanga azaalibwa okujja mu ggwanga lino okubanga azaalibwa mu ggwanga lya Uganda. Yasobola okubanga asoma era yasomera ddala paka ku Makerere University gye yava in fact okubanga yeegatta ku kibinja ky'abalwanyi ekya NRA by then ekyali kirwanira mu bitundu by'e Luweero n'ebitundu ebirala. Omwami ono yasobolera ddala okubanga agenda n'abeegattako bulungi era olutalo lwe baali balwana baaluggusa mu mwaka gwa 1986. Omwami ono agenda okwegatta ku nsiko ku myaka gyali nga 22-23 era okuva olwo abadde aweereza eggwanga lya Uganda. Yaweerezaako era nga MP ow'Ambarara era wali ku Kashari gye yasooka okubanga aweereza abantu beeyo mu mwaka gwa 1996 nga MP paka mu mwaka gwa 2001. Omwami ono era yasobola nnyo okubanga teyeerya ntama mu bigambo by'abadde ayogera. Abadde si muntu asobola okubanga atunda omwoyo gwe ku lw'ensimbi. Yalaga nnyo kino oluvannyuma lw'okwawukana ne President Museveni ku biki bye yali agamba mbu byali tebigenda maaso mu ggwanga lya Uganda naddala ensonga z'okujja ekkomo ku bisanja omwaka gwa 2005 ono we yalagira ddala n'abamu ku banne we yalagira ddala waayimiridde era n'awakanya ensonga za President Museveni ez'okwagala okweddiza obuyinza okuyita ku ssemateeka ekkomo lye yali emuwadde. Omwami oyo okuva olwo paka essaawa zino abadde tali mu direct service y'eggwanga era abadde tali mu office yonna gy'osobola kugamba nti mwabadde aweerereza eggwanga okuva bwe yayawukana ne President Museveni. Kitegeeza okumala emyaka 22 abadde yayimirira ku nsonga ze z'abadde akkiririzaamu. Yavudde mu bulamu bw'ensi olunaku lw'eggulo era we twafunye amawulire agabadde gakonfaminga nti Major John Kazora yavudde mu bulamu buno obw'ensi. Ffe nga Digital TV twagala okuba nga tumwagaliza ekiwummulo eky'emirembe era eggwanga lijja kumujjukira ng'omu ku baali abalwanyi ate ng'omu ku basajja abasigala ku kye baba bakkiririzaamu okutuuka n'okukifiirira nga takivuddeeko. Basajja batono basobola okuwa credit ng'eyo ono tumbalira mu basajja nga ba retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye abaeremesezza ebintu byewali wadde ogambye ebirungi ne basobola okuba nga bawakanya President Yoweri Museveni. Kuno tusobola okwongerako n'omwami nga Jeno Mugisha Muntu n'abalala abali mu kiko ekyo abaweereza eggwanga lyabwe. Oyo ye Major John Kazora eyavudde mu bulamu obw'ensi olunaku lw'eggulo. Twagala tumwagalize ekiwummulo eky'emirembe nga Digital TV. Nga tuvuddeko kaawo tugendeko mu mawulire amalala era nga tuli mu nsonga za government. Minister wa investment omukyala Evelyn Anite yakakasizza eggwanga nti naye tagenda kubanga yeetaba mu kalulu ka 2026. Omukyala ono abadde MP we Koboko district era nga gy'abadde aviira era bangi mujja mujjukira mu kalulu akawedde okubanga yagamba nti bo be baalina amagye era nga yeeyita the gateway to Koboko. Omukyalo ono Evelyn Anite alaze nti ye tagenda kubanga akoma mu 2026 kulw'ensonga zayogedde nti nno obululu naddala obwa Uganda bwa bbeeyi nnyo era ye kyasinza okubanga yeesiima mu kubanga tagenda kwetaba mu kana akalulu y'ensonga ez'okuba nti tagenda kubanga ateekamu ssente ze mu kalulu kano. Jjukira abantu abagala okubeera ababaka ba MPs oba ababaka ba parliament mu ggwanga lya Uganda ssente nnyingi azibeetaaga okubanga bateekamu singa bazisasula directly eri ekibiina ekilonzesa ekya Electoral Commission, naye abawagizi n'abalonzi engeri gy'okubanga weefuniramu ofiisi eno oluusi ssente nnyingi ezigenda nga zigabibwa. So Evelyn Anita agambye nti ye aweereza abantu b'e Koboko okumala akadde kano era kano kamumala okubanga adda mu nsonga ze eza bulijjo okubanga akola mu mirimu gye emirala. Evelyn Anita ono yayingira parliament ng'akyali muvubuka nnyo ddala, emyaka gy'ali mito ng'ali myaka gye egyabiri era mwasinzidde okubanga awangalira okubanga aweereza abantu b'e Koboko n'okubanga atuusizza n'okufuuka minisita owa investment naddala mu lino eggwanga lya Uganda. So yakakasiza Evelyn Anite kitagenda kubanga akomawo mu bululu bwa Uganda. Si ye yekka nno yakakakasa eggwanga nti tagenda kubanga yeetaba mu kalulu kano akajja. N'omubaka wa Kampala Central omubaka Mohamed Nsereko naye yakakasa eggwanga nti tagenda kubanga akomawo okwetaba mu kalulu kano. Jjukira Nsereko ono yakabeera mu parliament okumala ebisanja 3 era ye yagambye bino ebisanja bimumala okubanga adda mu capacities endala mwasobola okubanga aweerereza bannayuganda. Kino nno ekyokuba abantu nti tebeesimbawo mu bululu si kyekintu kyotera okubanga osanga mu ggwanga lya Uganda oluvannyuma lwakubanga nti bantu bangi naddala ba incumbents babeera mu bifo ebyo baagala nnyo okubanga beddiza entebe gye baba batuddemu era si kya bulijjo okusanga omuntu nga yeerekerezza entebe ng'agirekedde on merit oba ng'agirese mu bulungi. President Museveni abaddeko okumala emyaka kati gino giri 40 naye era akulaga nti akyaweereza ate nga y'ensonga bantu bangi naddala abali mu positions ez'aba MPs abasigadde nga baagala okubanga bayisigala mu buyinza wano. Kadaga yakabeera mu parliament ndooza kati giri emyaka gisukka 35 kubanga yayingira parliament mu mwaka gwa 1989 paka essaawa zino akyali mu parliament. So olabanga omubaka wa parliament asalawo obutadda mu mirembe nga tebamukubye kalulu kumujja mu ntebe abeera wanjawulomu naddala mu setting eno ey'eggwanga lya Uganda. Eddakiika zino ziri 15 ezakayita ku ssaawa 2 ez'okumakya. Tugendeko wabweru w'eggwanga. Joseph Kabila yali president w'eggwanga erya Democratic Republic of Congo yasobodde okubanga akomawo ebutaka mu ggwanga erya Congo. Ono omwami Joseph Kabila yatuukidde na mu district oba mu kitundu eky'Egoma nga kino ekitundu tukimanye bulungi nti kyakwatibwa dda abayeekera ba M23. Omwami ono in fact abadde ateeberezebwa okubanga abadde akolagana n'abakwasi b'emmundu naddala bano abalwanyi abali mu bitundu by'Egoma n'ebirala ba M23 wadde nga tewawadde bukakafu wadde bumu sibira ku nsonga ezo zennyini. So Joseph Kabila ono yatuuse sabbiiti eno ewedde era yasobodde okubanga atuuka mu ggwanga lya Democratic Republic of Congo mwe yali yava abadde takyabeera mu DRC mu kyewaliise self-imposed exile. Ye kennyini yava mu ggwanga n'asalawo agende mu ggwanga eddala nga ajjayo ensonga z'obutali butenkevu oba insecurity naddala eyali mu ggwanga erya Democratic Republic of Congo. Omwami ono nkujjukiza nti yava mu ntebe omwaka gwali gwa 2018 oluvannyuma lwa Felix Tshisekedi okubanga amukuba akalulu akamujja mu nsonga ezo eza Democratic Republic of Congo. Ono nno nga mbagambye abadde ateeberezebwa okubanga aseketerera gavumenti oba bibadde bigambibwa nga bibungeesebwa nti abadde aseketerera gavumenti ya omwami Felix Tshisekedi era waliyo n'ababibungeesa nti yandibadde ayagala okuddamu okweddiza entebe ya Democratic Republic of Congo. Watuukidde mbagambye nti enjawukanya zikyagenda mu maaso n'okulwana kungi okugenda mu maaso mu ggwanga lya Democratic Republic of Congo era twalabyeko Uganda Forces gye ziriyo twali tulyako CDF Mwozi Kaine Rugaba nga ayogera ku operations ezigenda maaso mu bitundu eby'ekisangani n'awalala ekikulaga nti nno agenza okukomawo mu politics ze DRC ng'ate ze-escalatinze n'okusinga wezandibadde. So yoyo Joseph Kabila naye ng'ate amawulire ge tufunamu getwafunye olunaku lw'eggulo gakonfaminze nti DR Congo yasuspendinze ekibiina ekya omwami ono Joseph Kabila. So ekibiina kye kyabadde ayagala okubanga atambuliramu bwanga akola emirimu gye oba kyeyali akoleddemu emirimu gye bakakasiza nti nno tebagenda kubanga bakikkiriza okubanga kiweereza mu ggwanga lino erya Democratic Republic of Congo. Nga twogerako ku Easter celebrations nga tukomyewo wano ewaka ku butaka omulangira Wasajja yasobodde okubanga ayogera mu bubaka bwe obwa Pasca oba Easter olunaku lw'eggulo mu kanisa yasabye gavumenti esobole okubanga ekola ku nsonga z'ebya Buganda. Omuwulira ku bintu bwe mutegeera nti ebyobugagga bya Buganda ebimu ebitannaba kubanga bisasulwa yasabye nti nno bakole omulimu ogw'amaanyi okuzza ebyobugagga bino oba basobole okubanga babisasulira. Bajjukiza nti nno nsonga nyingi eziri wakati wa central government gye walise gavumenti enkulu ne gavumenti ya Buganda era balina entegeeragana nyingi ze bakola ku bintu ebimu ebya Buganda ebyayonoonebwa ebyatwalibwa n'ebimu ebyabbibwa outrightly. So Buganda okuva olwo ebadde esabanga ebintu byayo era nga twalaba mu budgets eziwedde gavumenti ezzenga ekolayo kasente obanga ekolayo ku nsimbi zebadde esasulanga Buganda era ezasembayo ndoza mujjukira around 2022 Kabaka Ronald Muwenda Mutebi awangalayi Ssaabasajja yasobola okubanga meetinga president w'eggwanga lino Yoweri Kaguta Museveni era nga boogera ku nsonga zino ez'ebyobugagga bya Buganda. So Prince Daudi Wasajja oba omulangira Daudi Wasajja yasabye gavumenti central government oba gavumenti enkulu esobole okubanga ekola ku nsonga za Buganda naddala nga tujaguza Pasca eno egenda maaso mu ggwanga lya Uganda. So Buganda naye ekyasaba ebyayo mu mbeera eyo yennyini. Maybe nga tumaliriza tujja kwogera ku nsonga za Akena ono nga Jim Akena nga ye president w'ekiwayi ekimu ekya UPC yakakasiza nti talina ddiiri yonna gye yali akoze ne president Yoweri Kaguta Tibuhaburwa Museveni. Ono nno ng'ayogera yakakasiza nti nno bamusibako mu matugambuzi ku muliisango tewali ntegeeragana yonna gye yali akoze in a secret way with President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Naye ng'agamba waliwo ebintu be baali balina okukolako ng'ababiri oba ng'abantu aba aligninga naddala eggwanga lya Uganda okubanga ligenda mu maaso. So yagamba tewali secret deal gye yali akozeeko ne President Yoweri Kaguta Tibuhaburwa Museveni. Maybe lastly tujja kubanga twogera ku nsonga ezigenda mu maaso wali mu ggwanga lya Tanzania. Samia Suluhu yakakasiza nti ye agenda kuba akola buli kimu ekisoboka okubanga akomyawo kye wayise protection of human rights and protection of human and basic rights of individuals. Kino nno kivudde ku nsonga za eyali omukulembeze wa opposition. In fact yakyali omukulembeze wa opposition mu ggwanga lino erya Tanzania. Omwami ono Chadema yakulembera Chadema party yasobodde okubanga paka sawa zinakyali mabega wa mitayimbwa. In fact amawulire tufunako omukulembeze wa opposition mu ggwanga lya Tanzania tannaba kubanga alabikako oba sawa zino tebategeera nawawe nnyini wakwatiddwa oba tetunakakasa mazima ddala ki ekigenda mu maaso. Kika sabbiiti ewedde the leader of opposition mu ggwanga lya Tanzania yakwatibwa ku nsonga ez'enjawulo era gavumenti ya Tanzania teyakakasa nsonga ki yennyini eyali emukwasizza naye nga kye baamuteekako oba omusango baamuteekako gwe gwali omusango gw'okulya mu nsi ye olukwe kye waliise treason. So wetwogerera paka essaawa zino zennyini omwami ono tannaba kubanga ateebwa era gavumenti ez'enjawulo nga mulina opposition ya wano yamaze dde okubanga etandika mu kupostinga omwami ono okusaba asobole okubanga ayimbulwa mu kkomera gy'akwatiddwa. So tujja kubanga tulaba biki ebinaaba bivuddeyo mu nsonga ezo zennyini. Okyali ku Digital TV ndaba zizina eddakiika ziri 22 ezakayita ku ssaawa 2 ez'okumakya. muzikize mpumulemu katono wenkomawo nina Counsel Kato Tumusiime omwami ono munnamateeka okuva mu kkooti enkulu ng'ate y'omu ku bannamateeka aba retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye. Tugenda tandikira ku nsonga ezo n'ensonga endala ezigenda mu maaso mu ggwanga. Nze Edgar Mathew Karuhanga katumulemu katono tukyagenda mu maaso.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
What at the church, though?
Tawali man, what's up?
Man, can you imagine people just dump everywhere? Someone drinks water and throws the bottle wherever.
Come on, Rogers. What else do you expect people to do with an empty bottle?
Simanya now recorder. Do you know that plastics take at least 450 years to decompose?
What? That's a long time.
Exactly. Because plastics are made out of a lightweight and flexible material that doesn't decompose easily. And plastics everywhere in the environment cause plastic pollution.
What is plastic pollution now?
It is the accumulation of plastic waste in the environment, like bottles, polythene bags, straws. All of these contribute to plastic pollution.
I have been using them without knowing their effect.
Yeah, a lot of people have. Plastics are a danger to the ecosystem, both on land and in water.
So how can we overcome this problem? Is there something we can do?
Oh yes, we can reduce by minimizing the use of plastics, reuse by repurposing them, or recycle by collecting and processing them into new products.
Everyone wants to change the world, but no one wants to change themselves for the world.
How about we change our habits for the world?
And it starts with me and you.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digitalk.
Hi, Rogers. Can I ask you something?
Shoot.
What does corruption mean?
Well, summarily, corruption is abuse of public power for personal gain or for the benefit of a group to which one owes allegiance. For example, when a public office is abused by an official accepting or soliciting a bribe. By the way, private people can be corrupt too, like bribing police officers to escape fines.
Okay. So exactly how does that concern me?
Well, do you pay taxes?
I guess, yeah. What does that have to do with this?
Everything. Because those taxes you pay are supposed to facilitate services you use, like water, electricity, roads construction, medicines in hospitals, name it.
Okay, that is much bigger than I thought. But it can be stopped, right?
Well, yes it can, although it may not be as easy as it sounds. And here is the reason why. Corruption roots are grounded in our country's social, political, economic, bureaucratic traditions and policies.
So, what has kept it going this long? I mean, why don't we stop it?
Well, the main reason why it has been here for so long is because institutions are weak, either as a result of poorly defined ethical standards of public service, weak administrative and financial systems, or ineffective watchdog agencies.
What can we do to stop it?
At a national level, we must focus on strengthening the independence and effectiveness of public institutions that fight corruption. At a personal level, we must commit to never giving a bribe.
I promise I'll never give a bribe.
Well, that's a great decision you have made. Me and you now have to spread this message to all our friends. If we all do our part, corruption will be no more.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digitalk. The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Kulikayo mukuumulamu okwo okyali ku Digitalk TV. Nze Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. Olunaku luno olwaleero nina Counsel Kato Tumusiime ono munnamateeka wa kooti enkulu ng'ate y'omu ku bannamateeka ba Dr. Kizza Besigye. Olunaku olwali tugenda kwogera ku biki ebigenda mu maaso mu ggwanga, naddala eggwanga lyetegese litya okugenda mu kalulu ka 2026. Counsel Kato tumusiime tukwaniriza nnyo so.
Kizza Edgar, webali kunkyaza olunaku olwaleero era abatulaba. Good morning to you, happy Easter Monday. Nsuubire nti ennaku enkulu z'abatambulidde bulungi era mwebale okwekuuma.
Omanyi olina engeri gy'okosaamu ennaku enkulu. Nakulabye ku mukutu ogumu awo ng'oyogera ku Bayuda.
Kituufu.
Kati ku message gy'olina eri
aba Easter Monday. Era message ekyali emu nti buli kadde k'oba ofunye ng'omuntu yonna gy'obeera olina okukakozesa ng'olina ky'ogattako ku ggwanga. Wegatteko ng'omuntu ky'oba wegasseko kigatte ku famire yo, kigatte ku mikwano gy'omu, kigatte ku kitundu kyammwe bwe muva, at the end of it all kigatte ku ggwanga. Tusobole ozimba eggwanga lino. Manyife nga twali tukula ne kati ndowooza bakyabyogera nti we are the leaders of the future. And the future is, I don't know when it's coming. And I remembered that in my class, I think primary 7, when they were telling us such stories, twalimu abaana about 90, 70, 90. Naikati, simanyi ani mukulembeze. But regardless, we have to make our contribution in our capacities, and we should always use every other platform that we get. Specifically when you go to church, ngabana bampya begabidde 10 mugambe sente za kibi tezaita mitendere mituufu ati totulimba mbo tugulira simanyi ntebe mu church ogula ebikajjo bebalese mu church nedda sente ezo muzigane nawo mbagane tembawa bifo bya maaso bakusanga nga wakedde ku machano utula ntebe maaso nedda sebo maso ga Katonda fena twenkana teri honorable teri cyane dafena atutwara kye kimu nti bwe nve wake wange nenkera mu church ne bampe ntebe esookeyo mu maaso kati bwe buboze sawa 5-6 olwokuboyina omudimbi gw'esente gwolese ku milioni 10 kye bakuwa ate gye basitulanze olwokuba ngenda kuwayo 2,000 zensobola era siza kibi
kati Bayuda kyewadde otegeeza
ekyo kyembagamba nti ebiseera ebyo Katonda omwana wa Katonda Yesu yagenda mu bantu abaali bangi nnyo n'alondamu abayigirizibwa be disciples 12 of them. Among them yali Juda Iscariot. Nti naffe twagendeeyo mu byalo byaffe mu bantu baffe ne tulondayo ababaka ab'enjawulo mu mitendere gy'enjawulo. Katulina 5 yes. Nti Yuda olw'okwagala esente nnyo kasita yafuna abamupepereza ne bamuyiza n'akkiriza ye yatwala 30 silver pieces zeyatwala n'agamba omuntu wammwe nga bwe mwagala ngenda mubaleetera ne bamubuuza kabonero kikogenda okukola okumutulaga n'agamba nze bwe mutukako gwe nanywegera yoyo temubulabula era kyagenda mu maaso nga bwe yali akitegese. Tutuze wano mu ggwanga lyaffe lya Uganda kyatandikirwako yali coffee bill amendment coffee bill nga bajjawo UCDA naye era amawulire ne gayitamu nti waliwo sente ezigenda okuwanyisiganya ababaka basobole okukola ki okulonda ekyo tekinnaggwawo. Supreme Court emaze osatulula General Court Martial naye ne bagamba katuleete amendment ne proposals zayitayitamu dda tuzimanyi ezijja nti naye munategeera mutya nti bano ababaka banaabeera naffe kabwejjungira wakuno bwagamba munategeera mutya nti ababaka bano banaabeera naffe kabonero ki ketulina okulaga nti amendment eyo bwe betuuse yegenda okuyita ambu kati mubawe baasa 10 sikyebatwala mu nnaku ze ezimu eza Easter Yuda we yabikolera eri gye yali ne bano we babikolera same time same season. Nti Bible mubulize Ecclesiastes 1 chapter 1 verse 9 egamba nti byonna bye tulaba wansi wano tewali kipya byonna byali bizze nga bibaawo okutulyamu oluko ne batutunda tebitandise ne bano ababaka bokka ne Yuda yabikolako naye ne mu palamenti ezizze ez'enjalo nabo bazze babikola naye tetuggwamu maanyi tetuggwamu ssuubi kimanyi Katonda atulaba era ajja tutuwulira nebwoba okiridde ekyekikumi anti abakulembeze bonna tebava eri Katonda abamu batwepaatikako bwepaatis bayibuli bwetugamba
nga tetunayingira mu nsonga z'ekikumi kubanga zensonga nyingi njala twogere ku Major Kazola John omwami ono yawandiika n'akatabo kimanyi wakasoma Betrayed by My Leader. I read that book and it's one of those genuine conversations really around this government about the weaknesses. Nze kyenjagala okusooka okubanga mu respecting angaze ye boldness eva ku lulyo ku lujjuliro ng'olukutte ng'osobola osigalawo but you choose to even die out of power yet you had everything to have stayed in that power. You were a historical, you are a land person, from a member of parliament. So gamba nti omwami ono yalibadde afunamu kingi.
Chitufu.
What is your message about John Kazola?
It is sad that we lost a great hero. He's a hero among the heroes in this country that we have, that we must be celebrating. That he did not feel comfortable sitting in that parliament and representing the people of Kashari then that he was representing to enjoy that money that was flowing in that parliament. Yes, but he stood by his word, he stood by his conscience, he stood by what he believed in. I have watched a number of his interviews saying that one of the worst things he regrets having in this life is having a UPDF title, major, on his name. He says it's something he never wanted. Ebintu ebimu ebisingo ebyasingo okumutama kanjogere bwentu. Having that title as a major from UPDF. Kubanga yagamba by the time he joined the NRA Eruwero ye yali agenze nga freedom fighter teyagendayo kubaako byafunamu mu government bwebeze mu bukulembeze naye bwe batwala obukulembeze ne positions yajja nga afuna yadde yali member wa parliament nga representing abantu nti ye byajja nga asuubire byamutwala mu nsiko si byasanga era kwe kwawukana ne mukulu munne President Museveni ko yawagira ennyo era balwana nnyo
because he was younger.
Yes.
He was 23, Museveni was around 38.
But now in bringing out what he went through in that bush story, the liberation story, yachiteka mu kuwandiika era gamba nga taito bweyogera betrayed by my leader omuntu gwe yajja ndowooza yali ensonga ezimu ezamuleeta okuva Makerere gye yali kuva mu good life gye yalimu najja n'abeegattako mu nsiko nga life eyo bwe bagitunyumiza nga bwetaali nyangu naye ye yavaayo n'alaga obumativu n'agamba nedda nze bye nayitamu bye sikkiriziganya nabyo kambyogereko era mbyogerako nti biteeka mu katabo nti tulina abantu bakyali batono nnyo abasobola okwefiiriza life eyo ennungi life eyo ey'okwesanyusa n'avaayo na standing by their own words by their own conscience biki byakkiririzamu era n'agamba sikira kuba ndi member wa parliament sikira kuba ndi minister naye kino si kituufu si bwe kyandibadde kirina okubeera nti abantu abo tulinamu batono mu ggwanga lino era Major Kazola may his soul rest in peace yali omu kwabo people that we respect, people that are respected everywhere katugamba abantu abali mu government n'abatali mu government aba opposition they respect Major Kazola may his soul rest in peace.
You said he was disappointed by the title major or even his involvement in the UPDF. Mundabayo, do you think, isn't this an overstatement? In your perspective, this was his perspective.
This was his statement, yes, but not mine.
According to you, isn't this an overstatement? Because one would say, the UPDF is not that demonic and a state that you should just not even be proud of.
In my opinion, I feel that among the reasons he wasn't comfortable having that title is the way all these people with big titles, major, general, retired, all those kind of brigadier, and how they are using their position, how they are using their ranks to destabilize this country in one way or the other. If you look at the dynamics that are running in this country, including displacement of people from their lands, land grabbing, most of these people are using their titles. I think he started the title major on his name and looked at the other majors in this country, looked at the other generals, the brigadiers, the lieutenants and the rest, how they were using their power, how they were using that title to destabilize the country, mistreat people, get involved in all these kind of bad manners. And he said, I never wish to associate myself with such kind of a rank. Me, that's my own view. And I feel, abantu engeri gye beeyisaamu ne title ze balina y'ensonga lwaki Major Kazola kale yawulira bubi kwesanga nga ku linnya lyo olina okugattako Major.
Nze ndaba yalibadde na ku rank esingako n'eyo.
Yandibadde naye ndowooza tezimu ku nsonga he wasn't comfortable associating with the army depending on how this army has been used.
20 years down the road he has died. And the things he advocated for, one would say, are still there.
You see, they are still there. But in this fight, there is a contribution you will make as an individual. Si byonna nti byogenda okuba ng'olwanirira by'oluubirira okuba ng'olaba mu nsi eno binaatuukaawo nga bw'obyagala. It's a process. See, change takes time. And change, the results of change are not visibly seen in a one day or 1 week or 1 month or 1 year. No. People have been fighting for the good governance of this country, for the rule of law in this country, for democracy in this country, but 25, 30 years down the road, they are still fighting. They're still fighting.
That's 20 years.
Abafrika wano mu Uganda batwala I don't know how many years, 70 years to fight and end colonialism.
Yes.
The results came after 70 years. Even most of the people that started that fight to end colonialism in this country did not enjoy the fruits of colonialism. So that's how change is. That you have to make your contribution now. Don't mind about what result will come, when it will come, how it will come, where it will find you. No. As long as you fight for what you believe in, then do something good that should be remembered about you, about your name. That,
so at least
that people will not be there and say, tumuwonye kaveo Edgar ono. Okitegera naye bagambe nti Edgar ebiseera bye ebyovubuka we yabeeranga ku Digital TV, he articulated issues of national importance. He fought hard to have this country change. So that's what you
do your best.
Do your best at your best.
But is this a war that is achievable?
It is very achievable. It is very
because
achievable.
You said he started fighting this, well, probably you were young. Counsel Tumusiime. 20 years down the road, Counsel, you are an advocate of the High Court. you are talking about the same issues this man mentioned 30 years or 20 years ago. And one would say, is this a worthwhile war? Can it actually be achieved, or just politicking?
It's not about politicking. Like I said, it depends on which result you expect and how fast you expect them. You see, it's always bad to rush. Bobo papa nnyo nti oyagala buli kyoba okutteko olabe results zaakyo nga zivaamu amangu ago nedda awo oba toli ku kituufu, but results yield in processes. Nti okwogera ku kintu ne bwe muba temukikomeza naye ne mukikendeezaako, there is that reduction, then there is an achievement that has been worked on that we have to pressure ourselves in. And you see, at the end of it all, we cannot stop fighting for what is not good because we have not succeeded, because the likes of the foreign soldier Major Kazola fought for it for over 20 years, maybe before. By that time, I was just a little kid, and they reached the time of death when they have not achieved everything. But we can agree to disagree that there has been an achievement. Maybe not to their expectations, maybe not to how fast they wanted it to change, but at least there was something.
Okay. 40 minutes past 8 a.m. You're watching the Mighty Drive Show. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. I am with Counsel Tumusiime, an advocate of the High Court, but also one of the lawyers and defenders of Dr. Kizza Besigye. Let's move on to that issue. Dr. Kizza Besigye. This gentleman has been incarcerated from November last year.
Yeah.
Up to now. You have fought battles. First of all, getting him to where he is in a civilian court. There has been tedious a task for you people.
And that's an achievement. That's a plus.
A great achievement, yes. But the gentleman is still incarcerated. How is Dr. Kizza Besigye?
Now, Dr. Besigye amanya againa kati. Amanya gazemu. And you see what keeps him moving and stronger is that he sees things change. in one way or the other. From how it started in the general court martial at Kangaroo, the setup as it is, harsh as it was, but now we achieved and had it down. To fighting, I don't know what would make any other reasonable man, any other responsible person, any other person with a human sense and feeling take it all this, how many months since January 31st to transfer and move a file from the general court martial to the DPP's office so that it can move to the civilian courts following the orders and the directives of the Supreme Court. Misango jo jali mingi tetuganye.
Nga balina okugitaba ne bagira wamu ne baga katukuno tuswaguse ne gawano that process ndoza yatwala emyezi.
Nedda sebo tekyandi badde bwekityo because you see in the court setup we have records, the record of proceedings, that everything is very well known. Ntendiga ne bakujja Kampala kati ng'obadde mulamuzi bakuteeka mu kooti y'embalala. The only thing you need to do is to peruse through the file. Kuba buli kimu kyonna baba bakitaddeko. Musango gwatandika guti ono yaliwo bwe bityo. It's that orderly. That wouldn't even take a week to have a file transferred from Machinde here to Kampala to the DPP's office. But you would understand them because people who have been in that general court martial abadde bazze nga balaba engeri court martial gyekolamu nti you stand up to make your submission and everybody is folding their hands, including the chairman and the judge advocate. Because I am making my submissions and the basis of all this trial is based on my submission. So why are you not writing? How will you refer? If you want to give a ruling, what will you base on to give a ruling in my favor or against my favor? You get that if you don't make any notes, then there is nothing to transfer. There is no file. And what I believe was available at the court martial is the only charge sheet that they had. You get that's what the problem all started from. That we had nothing, we had no file. We moved that court martial looking for the record of proceedings to help us, for example, appeal for Counsel Kizza. But did we have any? The only thing available was only one page of the ruling and the conviction of Counsel Kizza. If you read or heard the ruling of Justice Erubu while granting Kizza bail pending appeal, is that the only thing he could find on the record of proceedings from the general court martial was a one-page ruling and conviction, and therefore it means there was no trial.
It is contempt of court.
But contempt of court, Edgar, contempt of court is an offense provided for under the law. Now the criminal process moves in this manner. Okay? If it is any other criminal offense provided by any other act, including the penal code, the anti-terrorism and whatever, and corruption, all those different statutes, that the police picks up the file, either by on their own volition, they suspect you to have committed an offense, and of course they must have reasonable reasonable suspicion that Edgar was involved in committing this offense. Then they will call you first. They will have to summon you, maybe come to police, make a statement about ABCD, the allegations made against you. Once that statement is made, then they will call also the witnesses or any other people, the complainant, to come and also make a statement. That when the two statements are on file, that file will be sent to the DPP's office, the state attorney. The state attorney's role is to peruse through the file. Agisomemu agambe Edgar musubiriza okuba yaso omuntu yamutiddewa atugambe yamutidde Kyengera kati Kyengera lwaki file ye mugirete ne Kampala. These are two different jurisdictions. Eje mirimu ja state attorney nti bobo charging omuntu mada bichi byolina okugoberera bichi birina okuba ku eyo file yabadde ne intention it's all this. I'm just building a basis on how offenses emanate up to the time you are charged in court, and you take free. Kati ne contempt of court wetyo bweri for contempt to arise okutataganya entuula ya kooti weeyina okubeererawo nti ekikolwa kyolina okuba nga okoze oba kyolina okuba nga wenyikiddemu kirina okuba nga kizzeewo ng'olutuula lwa kooti ekisooka lugenda mu maaso. obanga terugenda oba rugenda maaso boli munda oboli wabweru naye nga ekikolwa kyewenyigiddemu kitataganyiza era kiremeseza olutuula lwa kooti genda maaso. That's contempt. Now when somebody says nti byokoze bitataganyiza olutuula lwaffe nze mulamuzi kyalina okukola kiri kimu ekisooka to order for your arrest. That's one. How do they order for your arrest? Edgar okoze ABCD and therefore you are held in contempt. Muteke mukadukuru. If you have attended all courts, nedda kanzije enda kutwara mpora ntibagamba police ono msoke muteke mukadukuru. Then the magistrate or the judge will first conduct the trial that is happening. Bwegwa, then they will draw your charge sheet. Because contempt is also an offense. You cannot charge any person without a charge sheet. They draw a charge sheet but they come in particulars. Nti Edgar kusawa mkaga abadde mu kooti ya Buganda Road abadde akuba music ekintu ekitataganyiza olutuula lwa kooti nakuba omulamuzi nakuba simanyi court order nakuba pulida munne nakuba omujulizi abadde mu Kaluguli ekintu kyakoze kitataganyiza olutuula lwaffe. That's contempt. Those are the particulars. Era nebibyo nawe wajja biteekako. Edgar Mathew Karuhanga mutuuze w'erukuli akola ne Digital TV wa myaka 32 mulamu nsimu lwadde wa mutwe. All those particulars. Ntikati esawa yo bwe betuuse bajja kujja mu holding cells bakuyingize mu dock. Omulamuzi atuule akusomere charge sheet nga bwe ngambye starting with your particulars. Edgar Mathew Karuhanga, a male adult Ugandan, a Mutoro by tribe, a resident of Rukurikonge. Those particulars will be read. Then bakusomere omusango kigoziza contempt of court. Bakusomere ne particulars bichi byokoze omulamuzi ebimusubiriza okuba nga asuubiza nti wabadde in contempt. Nabikusomere bakubuuze Edgar, how do you plead? Because some people will plead guilty. That's available for you. Some people will decide to stay silent because that's a right of the accused person. Because by that time you are accused, they have not proved that you actually committed an offense of contempt. Because the Constitution is clear on the presumption of innocence.
Until proven
Article 20 is very clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you have your rights as an accused person, even at police as a suspect. You have your rights available for you. Kati bakuyingiza mukaguli bakusomere ebyo byonna bakubuuze Edgar Mathew Karuhanga, how do you plead? You either plead guilty, you keep quiet, or plead not guilty. So when you plead not when you plead guilty, now they will convict you on your own plea of guilty. Bakusali bagambe Edgar ati kusalira bakusingisa omusango. You are now a convict. Nti Edgar akiriza okubanga yaziza omusango. He is now convicted. What happens is there and then the magistrate or judge can sentence you. Akuwe kibonerezo. Naye nga tanakuwa na kibonerezo asooka nakuwa olukusa to do what we call mitigation. You mitigate your own sentence. Akubuuze Edgar omusango waguziza kati kikyogamba kooti nti olaba ekikolwa kye nakoze kyavudde ku ABCD. Like you explain yourself, you mitigate most of the people call it aroctus. Nti ekibonerezo kya contempt katugambe oba ky'omusango gwonna myaka 5. Naye how do you bring in your aroctus? How can you try to convince the magistrate akusalireko? It's that discussion. That's when you plead guilty. Okay? If you have not pleaded guilty, now it is the duty of the complainant. Omulimu guba ku complainant oba oyo omulamuzi akusuubiriza okubanga waziza omusango to prove, to bring evidence. Because our laws here are clear that it is the duty, the obligation of the prosecution to prove the case against you. Yes, the standard of proof must be proof beyond reasonable doubt. Nti ne bw'oba oleese omuntu teddi wali tenjo namugamba nti bino bye bibaleese wano agamba kituufu kusinziira ku buno obujulizi tolina yadde kwerumalumamu Edgar aziza omusango.
Nkitegeere. The case of Counsel Kizza yali aleekaanira waggulu ayagala kuba bannamagye kooti y'amagye nga tagiwadde kitiibwa wadde yali munnamateeka.
Kati ebyo byonna gwe
nabo ne basalawo ne bagamba ffe mu ndaba
anti chobolaba
myezi mwenda.
chobolaba twali tubanenya ne kati tikyabanenya nti singa bagoberera amateeka maybe it would have been a different story.
Maybe
Take me through the trial process. That's what I'm doing about. Take me if it was a court. If it was a court.
civil
And I've
court,
always said, no, if it was a court or a tribunal. We have tribunals, we have specialized courts. Disciplinary courts. If it is even a tax appeals tribunal, they will follow a process. Okay? If it is a utility tribunal, it will follow the process. Because it involves people that understand the law.
Tell me what the court martial did not do in the case of Aaron Kizza.
Aaron Kizza was never tried. He was never tried at all. He was only brought to the dock to be read to the conviction and sentence, which is illegal, which is a narrative that cannot be accepted in this country, in a country that believes in the rule of law, in the country that is governed by the Constitution. Because those are what we call non-derogable rights. They are non-negotiable. The Constitution is clear. There is nothing in this world that can take away your right to a fair hearing and a fair trial. Then you give me a
reason why Counsel Aaron was behind bars for 3 months, 4 months in fact.
It's because of the system that we are dealing with. The people that are very rogue in manner, that are conducting themselves like what Major Kazora disagreed with, that because you are a free man, Mugabe seated in that seat as the chairman of a general court martial, you believe that your order is the final. If the Constitution, if the Supreme Court gave a ruling and said transfer all these files, and people that had challenged their conviction and sentences must also benefit from this ruling, why would it take you 3 months to transfer everyone's file with 1 page? To transfer it, take it to the civilian court so that the appeal can be conducted at that time. It's because that people believe that where they are seated now will be the end of their lives. No, things will change. Sometimes you will be the one in the dock. I am telling you. Sikolima, but I'm telling the reality. Twaina Jeno Kaihura wamulaba ndowooza mu court martial yemu.
Yes, namulabayo.
Twaina Sejjusa tewamulabayo. Tewamulabayo Sejjusa. Tinyefuza yali mkote eyo namalayo emyaka 10. Tumukunde yaliyo namalayo emyaka 10. Manyi kye bamukola nga bamaze omuconvictinga, just bamugamba we have pardoned you but you are a convict. It lies in your life. Just because they don't believe in the principles of the rule of law. Because these people that have headed this institution, the General Court Martial, are people that lack the legal training. Ensonga ezimu ne Supreme Court zeyagoberera negamba nedda this can never be a trial. Somebody who is not qualified to treat a patient should not be given a needle to make an injection on that patient because they have little knowledge. It
shows that this country is not run by the law.
Politics everywhere. Politics everywhere. If you study the intention,
even in the justice system, there is politics.
Yes, there is politics. If you study the intention of the creation of the General Court Martial, it was politics at the play. That it has been used as a tool of suppression on the opposition opposition people. That it has been used on the people that criticize the government, both in the army and outside the army. That in any case, they believe that you might be against the regime, then you'll be arraigned before the General Court Martial. The reason you are arraigned before the General Court Martial is because there is no trial that is going to happen in that time. Because if they arraign Edgar, who is alleged to have been found, for example, in possession of military attire and taken to the civilian court, the first thing, the next hearing will be to make your bail application. You will have your trial from home. Therefore, you will have some bit of relief, some liberty, some freedom to continue coming to Digitalk and serving the nation. Yes. But in the General Court Martial, you don't even have access to make a bail application. Your trial will take years. You have people that have been in prison since 2021, even since 2020. Just because that's their system, they don't believe in the law. Their conduct, their behavior is something that is, I think, reigned by ignorance, or they just want to use their power as they wish. That's why that creation is there, and which we are fighting against.
As a journalist, and you know, things in Uganda come from rumors to actually becoming true. There is rumor that this bill is coming back.
It is not rumor. The Attorney General made proposed amendments. It was published in the newspaper. Yes. I have had
Still
an opportunity to read it through.
In politics.
I have read it through. I've read about it through the newspapers. The Attorney General came out and confirmed that
now let's start from that when we come back from that short commercial break. We're going to look at exactly what this new bill will entail and what it means to the various Ugandans that are still incarcerated, by the way, in prisons, and many of them, their files have not yet been transferred from the General Court Martial to the civilian courts. The only case that we are sure about is Dr. Kizza Besigye and Hajobed Lutale, whose files have already been moved to the civil courts. We'll talk about that and much more. You're still watching Digitalk TV. This is The Mighty Drive. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. Let's take a break right about now.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Hi Rogers, can I ask you something?
Shoot.
What does corruption mean?
Well, summarily, corruption is abuse of public power for personal gain or for the benefit of a group to which one owes allegiance. For example, when a public office is abused by an official accepting or soliciting a bribe. By the way, private people can be corrupt too, like bribing police officers to escape fines.
Okay. So exactly how does that concern me?
Well, do you pay taxes?
I guess, yeah. What does that have to do with this?
Everything. Because those taxes you pay are supposed to facilitate services you use, like water, electricity, roads construction, medicines in hospitals, name it.
Okay, that is much bigger than I thought. But it can be stopped, right?
Well, yes it can, although it may not be as easy as it sounds. And here is the reason why. Corruption roots are grounded in our country's social, political, economic, bureaucratic traditions and policies.
So, what has kept it going this long? I mean, why don't we stop it?
Well, the main reason why it has been here for so long is because institutions are weak, either as a result of poorly defined ethical standards of public service, weak administrative and financial systems, or ineffective watchdog agencies.
What can we do to stop it?
At a national level, we must focus on strengthening the independence and effectiveness of public institutions that fight corruption. At a personal level, we must commit to never giving a bribe.
I promise I'll never give a bribe.
Well, that's a great decision you have made. Me and you now have to spread this message to all our friends. If we all do our part, corruption will be normal.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digitalk.
Looking for a pair of shoes? Les Hub Stores has a wide range of selection for unisex footwear. We have the best quality of all brands at pocket-friendly prices and with neck deliveries countrywide. Just place your order or reach us on 0772 08 0090. You can also check up at Les Hub Stores on all our social media platforms. Les Hub, craft your own footprints.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Looking for a pair of shoes? Les Hub Stores has a wide range of selection for unisex footwear. We have the best quality of all brands at pocket-friendly prices and with neck deliveries countrywide. Just place your order or reach us on 0772 08 0090. You can also check up at Less Up stores on all our social media platforms. Less Up, craft your own footprints.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Hi Rogers, can I ask you something?
Shoot.
What does corruption mean?
Well, summarily, corruption is abuse of public power for personal gain or for the benefit of a group to which one owes allegiance. For example, when a public office is abused by an official accepting or soliciting a bribe. By the way, private people can be corrupt too, like bribing police officers to escape fines.
Okay. So exactly how does that concern me?
Well, do you pay taxes?
I guess, yeah. What does that have to do with this?
Everything. Because those taxes you pay are supposed to facilitate services you use, like water, electricity, roads construction, medicines in hospitals, name it.
Okay, that is much bigger than I thought. But it can be stopped, right?
Well, yes it can, although it may not be as easy as it sounds. And here is the reason why. Corruption roots are grounded in our country's social, political, economic.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Kulikayo okyali ku Digital TV tuli musawa yafeeyo kubiri ngate esaawa esembayo wano ku Digital TV. Nze Edgar Mathew Karuhanga ndine munnamateeka okuva mu kooti enkulu ng'ate y'omu ku bannamateeka aba retired Kano Dr. Kizza Besigye excuse me, omwami Counsel Tumusiime. Tubadde tukyayogera ku nsonga za bail era we tugeredde mu kuwummulamu nga Counsel twogera ku tteeka eppya liwalabye mu mawulire. Wagambye Kirowa Kiwanuka Attorney General yali litaddemu. Nze nkyalowooza nti bibungeesebwa naye biki bino ebibungeesebwa?
Kituufu nga bwe nkugambye byayita mawulire print ne babifuluma. Me have had an opportunity to read about that amendment, the proposed amendment.
Yes, exactly.
Ne Prime Minister yavaayo n'agamba it's cleared to be tabled before Parliament. Ate kati wayita mmeka ng'akasiimo kazze. Ate abaasooka okukawulira n'okukayisa bagamba ekigendererwa kyakubayambako okwanguya okuyisaamu eyo amendment ya EPDF Act.
Naye nga amendment yerabikako bulungi.
Ate erabikako bulungi because like I said somewhere before because we have people that are just unreasonable in what they want to do, people that just want to do things for the sake of doing them without considering the consequences that they are going to bring, is one of the challenges that we have faced as a country in that parliament as a legislative body.
Yes,
nti bagenda kuyisa eyo bill today, the following day or before the week ends ojja kutulaga ku constitutional court nga tuchallenging because it will not have from the proposed amendments, they have not followed the guidance of the Supreme Court in their ruling in the Kabazikuruka case. Two, that whatever they are bringing wants to contradict the provisions of the Constitution, and therefore it will be unconstitutional. That they must, maybe the best thing to help them is to amend the Constitution against the retrospective legislation. Or to legislate things okuyisa amateeka ng'ekigendererwa kyago kyakusatulula oba okuyungulira ensalawo za kooti ez'emabega. Kooti bw'eba esazeewo ensala yaayo esigala ng'erina okukola ne bw'oba okoze etteeka terina kukomawo ate erisazeemu kooti kyeyasalawo
ensalawo ya kooti esigala
ekola nti amateeka ge muba mukoze kati tegajja kuddayo emabega gasazeemu kyekyo kyentegeeza
but then that means gavumenti eba tegwekubye
ate kati ejja kuba egwekubye kubanga singa ebyo byonna baabiraba badda bandibadde bakola ebirina okukolebwa nti amateeka gonna ge tukolagana bandibadde gagenderwamu okukola development in the country, good governance, the people, the laws to be respected in the country, they must first be appreciated by the people. They must be aligning with the wishes of the people. Bichibe twagala ng'abantu.
Yes.
Bichibe twagala ng'abantu. Tibukole teeka abantu nga balyagadde tojja na kumenyeka kuliteekeza mu nkola. Like everybody would be interested.
You give me a case of the anti-homosexuality bill that allegedly most of the people were aligning with.
Yes,
ila kyakwangwira okuliteeka mu nkola.
Like you don't even need to waste a lot of time to sensitize people against that law because some people believe in it. Okay, that one of the among the qualifications of a good law, it must be accepted, publicly accepted by the people, universally applicable among the people, regardless of the race, political parties, affiliations, gender, religion. They must be taking us under as a law. Okay, that if the law is not accepted by the people, then that's not law. Because as we know, laws are also like human beings. They grow, they keep growing. That the laws we have in this country, some of them as old as 1950, 54, but they are still applicable now. That's why we find a challenge that even most of people don't know how to deal with them. Need to gain them mass.
Yes, sir.
What they intend to make in the amendments, I believe the best thing to do is start with the composition of the General Court Martial. Okay, start with the who should be reading that General Court Martial.
Ensonga Supreme Court yayogerako eyo.
Era yakikatirizako nnyo n'esabalamuzi
kooti si bwe buzibu naye mutuuseeko abantu abalina
competence abamanyi ki kye balina okukola mu mateeka. You have seen us submit law in that General Court Martial and everybody is looking at you and it's good that now this has been televised everywhere. You saw even where the chairman was holding his head and saying, but what is this submitting about? But he's the same man who is going to give a ruling. Secondly, they only appoint you as a chairman or as a member of the General Court Martial for 1 year. So your term is not guaranteed. Who is the appointing authority? Is the president. The president, who still doubles as a politician in this country, heading a political party, who is going to join the next elections. Okay, that your tenure of office is not guaranteed. Therefore, you are not a judicial officer. Manya balamuzi bano ne bwasalo n'agamba nedda kino nze kyendowooza because they know their tenure of office is guaranteed. They don't work for favor. Most of them don't work for favors. It is true that some work
never
for favors.
Acting judge.
Yes, but that is the worst thing we have ever had. That ensonga ya acting judge oba omulamuzi bwe bataddewo kubanga akola naye nga tebanamuconfirming is one of the biggest problems that we have in this country. If you look at how it all started, its basis nti enfuga y'amatwale, the colonialists bwe baali bava mu ggwanga lino, we had less people to take up positions as judges. What they would do, because we had a lot of cases going on, they would just look for Ugandans or Africans that had qualified to be lawyers, people that had experience as lawyers, people that understood the law, and then they would appoint them to just hold those offices for a few time as we wait for the replacement. Because the white judges had left and we had a vacuum, we couldn't let it be. That's how this thing of acting judges started. Yes, but now because we have been used to copy and paste, so we still believe that in this era, when we have all qualified people to be judges and magistrates, we still have people in acting capacities. What does it take for you to confirm a person to be a judge if they have all the qualification as provided for under the law? Nti gwe bakuteekako nga acting judge ngono omulamuzi gwe bateekako mu musango gwa Besigye, you will do all things to favor the regime, you will do all things to favor the appointing authority so that you can be appointed or confirmed as a judge. Nti byonna byogenda okukola bijja kuba bisanyusa oli alonda, oli akuza, oli agabe before. You will not be independent, and this is something that we are waiting for also the Supreme Court to make a ruling against, a judgment against. Because if the Constitutional Court said acting judges also give acting judgments, and therefore whatever business they are doing is in an acting capacity and therefore cannot be confirmed, why does it take the Supreme Court to give a judgment and also confirm that decision? The crisis in this country is not only limited to politics, but also the judiciary is under trial.
Even the lawyers, you are in a crisis. You have what you call a radical new bar, right? This morning, I woke up to news that the personal assistant to the radicalist, the president, Semakade, has actually also resigned his job. Semakade has been in the middle of controversy from the time he took office, even up to today. In fact, he has been in exile. Still is.
Semakade is not in exile. I should say that. He's not in exile. He's just on official duties. He's doing the duties.
Is he running away from
as provided to him by the Uganda Law Society? He's doing the Law Society.
But there is an arrest warrant for that gentleman.
The arrest warrant was even stayed by the Uganda Road Magistrate Court. I argued it to some people and said that because of excitement, because of attention, the magistrate just was very, very, very happy to issue that order. But it is not the duty. He has no jurisdiction to issue an international arrest warrant, the red flag they are talking about. How do these things come into play? That you, a magistrate, will make an order, the order that will be enforced by the Interpol, so that they can arrest you, Edgar, or any other person outside this country. Look at the nature of the offenses. These are some of the things now that the Interpol looks at. Okay? That they must qualify for one to be issued a red alert. That when Edgar tries to enter Uganda, then there will be a red alert notice. But not issued by a magistrate, first of all. They depend on which kind of an offense is charged against you. Was this an international offense? Molesting a person of the DPP? Or is it an international offense? No, it is not. This is not an offense. That is this offense is not internationally recognized. Okay? It is not an offense that wants to antagonize the security of this country. It is not an offense that puts the world at threat, that if President Semakade goes to Kenya, goes to Germany, then the countries must be on threat because this is a person with threats. No. This is an issue that was politicized here. That the president has audacity, the president of this country, to go on national TV and abuse people, call them fools, call them stupid, call them whatever kind of words. You could not even ministers have that audacity to call them pigs and call them whatever, and nobody is talking about them. But when Kato, when Edgar, when President Semakade goes and also gives his opinion about you, who has the
Counsel Tumusiime Kato,
because somebody
because you can pass on the message without actually using foul language. Because if somebody says
something that you don't believe in, then you think that see, some things will remain facts. Some things will remain facts. That we have an office of the DPP that has been used by politicians, that has just been stepped on. It is just a rubber stamp. It has now become as a conveying belt, a conveyor belt, that whatever is dumped on, they just swindle it to the courts of law. How many cases have failed to be ignited because they were sanctioned by the DPP? How many? You have seen all these cases of common nuisance. As funny as it is, as it can sound, that office is also common nuisance of the DPP. And therefore, it has failed this country in the criminal system of the country, and therefore, they have only resorted to exciting the magistrates to start issue now international arrest warrants, which is never.
But who understands the law in this country? 15 minutes past 9 a.m. I am with Counsel Tumusiime, one of the lawyers of retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye. Still talking about opposition. Let me not look at it in Uganda, but East Africa. Everywhere there is a bit of challenge especially in Tanzania. You know what is happening there. We know what is happening in DR Congo with the return of Joseph Kabila. Then when you look at most of these East African countries, the opposition bonna bali mu mabega mitayimbwa wa bali mukudduka. We Rwanda terina ayogera n'omu. E Kenya Rigathi Gachagua naye bamujjawo. What is it with the modus operandi, especially when it comes to the democracy of East Africa?
East African democracy is just under siege. That's a word I can use. It's under siege. But the problem we have in this East Africa is that we have a person who is taken as a godfather of East Africa. That is our president, because he's the longest serving president in the region, East African region. Unlike other countries, Uganda is the country that has had a president who is in power for now over 40 years. Okay?
Yes.
That his experiences are now being copied and pasted by these other presidents, because most of these presidents have openly on international ceremonies hailed him as the godfather of this country, as the blessing
all of them
that we have had in East Africa.
They respect Museveni.
And therefore, they are studying his political books, studying his political stay, what has enabled him rule Uganda for over 40 years. He has been against every other opposition politician who comes in to criticize him politically and openly. What has he done is to put them in jail and cells, and the charges mostly preferred against them is treason. Okay? Has been his trick. He has mastered that art. And therefore, the rest of the people, for them to be able to be in power for all those years as well, they have to follow the tricks used by President Museveni. That in Tanzania, Tundu is also now facing treason charges. But the funniest bit of it is that now, Tundu in the prison where he was remanded, now his friends and relatives couldn't find him. So his whereabouts are unexplainable. These are things that are happening in this country. That Ugandan army security agencies will find that Kato's existence in Kenya is a problem to Uganda, and they will just cross border without following any international laws or expedition measures to come and bring you, but they will just go abduct you and bring you here. If you go to DRC, the same story. If you go to Rwanda, the same story. And we have the East African community. What are they saying about this?
Because it's an ESC open border policy.
Yeah, well, what are they talking about this? That in South Sudan, Vice President who is in opposition is now under arrest for how many months?
Yes.
You get that the person who would be now chairing the East African community is also there, and because they have this fear of the Mkuru Tasebia and whatever they want to say, because they all believe and they want the support of President Museveni, so they have to copy his tricks.
And he has the capacity.
Nobody has to condemn whatever actions they are doing. That's the challenge we are facing. That we have not embraced democracy. A democracy we have in East Africa is the democracy on paper, democracy in books, and when they invite President Museveni to give any speech, he will speak about the democracy as if he's the master, as if he practices one, as if he has championed it, as if he's a good and one of the best examples about the democracy. And sometimes he has said nobody can educate him about the democracy. Yes. But you look at what the democracy is preaching and also serving, you wonder which kind of democracy he understands. That it has not only been left to democracy, but also the violation of human rights. It's at stake every day. It keeps, getting annoying every day.
But even as you argue, President Museveni still wields a lot of influence in East Africa. He has armies in South Sudan, he has armies in Congo.
He uses fear. That is not influence and respect. No, it's
power. A man has power. If a man can influence Somalia, he's influencing the security of the region, he's influencing the security of other regions. We are in West Africa also. One would say, ngawe ye itasaba lwanyamanya agalina. Respect ye jebamuwano okutia.
I wanted to say something, but I remembered. And I said I should maybe keep quiet about it. But to say that you cannot be there claiming to be the most powerful in this East African region when you have failed yourself in this small Kampala as it is. Small Kampala as it is. If you have read the police report that came out last year, and how many insecurity related cases that have been visibly seen in this country. Then you wonder which kind of security you are promoting in the other country if you have failed to guard your own people in Uganda. Kampala itself, okay, which kind of security are you extending to Somalia? As if, but you see, you can never give what you don't have. If you have failed at the security level in your own country, now which other security expertise are you taking to the rest of the country? Start with your own family so that we copy from it. If now Rwanda comes and says, yes, we are the masters of the security, we are the masters maybe of stability in this region, we can say yes.
But in Rwanda it's actually
but
different.
Not in Uganda.
When you go to Rwanda for an event, an occasion, for example, there is a match, Nambole. Here you will see a lot of security deployed everywhere. In Rwanda you won't see. You will see the normal security you met before the match started. The same security. People don't have guns. They're like 6 soldiers or 6 policemen. I have had friends who come
from different countries,
yes,
and they reach here and they wonder to even see a security guard holding a gun, moving and walking.
No, there are guns literally everywhere.
As ramshackled as they are, as hungry they are, they can be visibly seen, and then they say, please, how do you manage this country at this level? You get? And you see, it calls a road. It calls a road. That in this country now, holding a gun is like
what is security? Is security holding a gun? Because that means Rwanda is insecure when they have 6 soldiers or 6 policemen manning a full Amahoro stadium that has over 60,000 or 40,000 people. But it is being ruled by the same security that is always there. And this I have seen it firsthand.
Yeah, I've also seen it, I've witnessed it, that you reach a country and you leave without seeing a gun. I've been in so many countries now, but it's on rare occasions that you will see people on the streets holding guns.
Exactly.
And you will wonder, which country do I come from? That
Uganda. Counsel, let's get to the politics happening in the country. I have news that is surprising to Ugandans. Not bad, but surprising. There are some MPs that are not coming back. Actually, they're choosing not to come back. That is the news. Because oftentimes we know pasoka kuva mu office incumbent abayino kudda Sedeko Mohammed is not coming back Kampala Central. Evelyn Anita is not coming back in Koboko. Can we say our politics are starting to mature?
We have had so many people that have just left politics in that. Okay? People that were at the helm of, in top positions in this country. It's not the first time. Including Honorable Kizza, the most recent. Former leader of opposition, as powerful and strong as she was, she said, no, I'm not coming back to parliament. Okay? And they are not the first people.
After 3 terms.
They are not the first people. But what does this now call to us? That maturity, sometimes you don't need to be forced out. But if even Anita says she's not coming back, she lost the election.
And she's young.
She lost the election. Is she leaving because she is in power? She's not representing the people in her municipality. She's not. She was bet hands down by Dr. Ayume. Okay? So now, she's just trying maybe to win sympathy of the people, and she's not coming back to politics. She lost. And she's a loser by that fact. Now, maybe the person to talk about is like Mohammed Nsereko. Mohammed Nsereko has played his politics in Kampala very well. But I believe that, you see, when you come to service, when you come in any position, you have your ambitions, you set your goals, you know, this is what I want to achieve. There are 2 things involved usually. That either you have achieved whatever you set, or you have failed to achieve, and therefore you don't find any other reason for you to continue coming back to represent the people because you have failed them. That's one. If you have successfully achieved to represent them, then there is nothing new you're going to add, but to retire a peaceful man and also enjoy your life. Toina kulinda abantu basoke bakuchawe olyoka obegobeko olyoka oddewo obumule. You have to respect them.
Sina abantu omusajja, people are receiving $10,000 every month in this country, in this economy. Million ya 3.7 So I'm talking about the lucrativeness of the business itself.
The business of politics. But when you reach home in your bedroom, you sleep. There's that kind of sense that comes into your head, and you reflect and say, surely do I deserve this 100,000 you're talking about, or this? Am I really doing what I am supposed to do? You have that self-conviction in you. And when you feel you cannot hold it anymore, the only option you have is just to leave politics and go home. Enjoy and live a happy man. Yes, but to say that this should be very lively to very many, and I feel sad when people just want to come and quote, may he so rest in peace, Nelson Mandela. That you emulate Nelson Mandela, but have you done what he did? He only ruled, even when he was loved by almost everybody in South Africa, he said, but I have served what I can. Let me leave the rest also start from there. If you emulate that, then we would have nothing to reason. We would be reasonable people.
But we don't see that even in the opposition that we call democratic. All of them have been in those positions for 20, 25 years.
That's true. That's true. And there are people who say that President Museveni had made them
Yes.
Most of them are saying it. But maybe not to be judgmental. Not to be judgmental. Some people believe that in their different positions, then that's when they have the power. That's when they have the voice.
Exactly.
Amplified. Some have that kind of feeling. And it is true that in this country, not a mere Kato will just come and go in a public space, a public gathering, and then he will be given a microphone to say a word of wisdom. But that LOC1 chairman in your own village, they will come to give a speech when you are dead, for example, or when I am dead, even when they did not know anything about you. That the minister will come from Kampala and they want to talk about Kato that they have never met, just because Kato comes from a family maybe that is viewed and influential in this country. And I've said this so many times that in my will, no politician will say a word about me that he's representing the government. The government that has failed us. Unless people or leaders that come from my area, people that have also influenced my life and also done something. But you find somebody who has died because they have failed to buy paracetamol in a government hospital for 10,000, but when they die, then the government shall send 20 million as condolence message. It is just
then how best do you advise them to stay relevant even out of politics? Because one would say, I wield my relevance when I'm in that office.
Do good, do what you want to be done to you. That's when we shall live peacefully in this country. And believe, also know that whatever we are fighting for in this country, we did not come with anything.
ziri 28 zezakaita kusawa 3 tuli mu dakika zaffe ezisembayo tube nga tuva ku show yaffe ey'olunaku olwaleero olunaku lwa Easter Monday. Happy Easter eri gwe atwekumiddeko olunaku luno olwaleero. Nze Edgar Karuhanga okubanga nkuweereza Counsel tudde ku miliyoni 10 ez'ababaka ze baafunye. I don't know why you're even laughing at their 100 million. MPs are 100 million richer. What you call being corrupted, I think President is saying, ababaka kabekubeka enfuufu babeyanedde burdens nyingi betagamu sente zino. And as a president, I've given you 100 million each. And the other voice I was hearing from a person who was in that meeting, who confirmed to be in the meeting that passed that money, Lydia Wanyoto, akulembera Women's League mu NRM. Yagambye buli mubaka yafuna miliyoni 10 naye president yazibawa mutima mubi azibawa mulemu beera compromised okubba the budget ng'ebyo bitwadde tulaba nti gwe genda oyise budget ng'ekikumi ky'olredde mu ekiri. You would not even be needed to tempt you. We won't be tempted to steal from the national budget. What do you think about that?
That's what Lydia said, but the president came and confirmed why. He gave them money to go and monitor government programs. Okay? You see, if you want to give people money, we shall not stop you as President Museveni, because you have stolen a lot, you have had a lot of money. Pick from your cows in Rwachitura or anywhere, sell them, donate that money. Nobody will come to complain that you have given people money from your own money, not the taxpayers' money. You cannot go withdraw money from the taxpayers' money and you want to dish it just like that. Unreasonable in that sense. Don't we have priorities that must be funded by that money? Do you know how many schools 100 million can build in a constituency that you're just teaching to one person? Do you know that the PDM funds is 100 million per parish? Do you know that money is refunded back? You have to pay it back. Do you know that this 100 million that has been got from the supplementary budget that was passed will not be refunded. You see, giving money is not bad. Even Edgar here, when I feel happy and I have some money, I have no problem to give you.
Yes,
okay?
sir, yes, sir.
But with what intention am I giving you that money? That's where the problem comes in. That you cannot come to give money to an MP to go and follow up, to go and supervise the government programs, okay? Because that's one of his mandates, to go and supervise, see that the implementation of the government program is in progress. That's why we pay them that hefty sum of money that they earn at the end of the month, okay? On top of that, we even add fuel contributions and allowances per DM for them to go back to their villages and constituency to monitor the government programs. Why do we have to even add them 100 million? For what? What best new thing that they have done that they deserve to earn this money?
You talk about where the money comes from. How sure are you that the money is from you?
From who? It is from the taxpayers' money. Where did they get it from? After passing a supplementary, and that's when the 100 million came in at play. Okay? That even people who were bragging about it, that they are now 100 million richer than everybody.
Hey, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, but to say, Edgar, me, I am only looking at the intention, why that money was given, and why at this time, when the country is crippling with this debt burden that is on us, as we speak today, on every Ugandan's head, including you, there is a 2.3 million as a debt. You can imagine what have you benefited from this government to be having that debt burden on your head, moving with it every other single day. That I now reach a conclusion to agree that most people say that this government has just drained us to the extreme, that we are just left to see things happen by God's grace and by miracles. Okay? Because the people we sent to represent us, the people we sent to fight for us, the people we sent to plead for us, at least from the person that has been ruling us for 40 years, he has failed us. They have also failed us. They are also looking at it as an eating opportunity.
Nina bakugamba council nze mbadde ngenda mu parliament nakuwa ezizo because nawe okumpa akalulu ninakuwa zange. So if this person has given you their money, they don't owe you any allegiance really at the end of the day. Because this is business. If I've invested 1.3 billion, I was looking at the budget of Stella Nyazi in the previous elections. Her budget was 1.3 billion. Ezusene nyingi muganda wange.
Yeah, chitufu.
So naye hapa tugamembu na yete ba business.
Chitufu sente nyingi naye ekisinze okutono nafenna ngeggwanga era n'abakulembeze baffe kiri nti we have now taken politics as a job, as a business, that you look at how much will I get at the end of it all. That instead of getting that 1.3 billion to invest it in a business, do you know how much money you will be earning on a monthly basis as profits from the business? But because people have taken politics as an opportunity for them to be able to steal, to cheat, to do all this kind of thing, to do all these dubious deals, that they feel that investing this 1.3 or 1.5 billion in a business, for example, a trading business, you have wasted that money. Invest it in politics so that you can be able to steal more and more. Okay? That we no longer take politics as serving the people. And now I agree with the people who feel that serving as a member of parliament should be a voluntary job. You volunteer to come and serve your people because you are patriotic, because you love your country, because you love to represent your people, because you have a root. You desire to see this country. Katubateke mpalamenti nze nesimire Kato ngambe kanveyo ngene nchikirira abantu.
Bagenda ku emtwalo 7 omwezi.
Sizagala. Njateka mnezange because I am fighting for the good. I want to be there and monitor government programs at my own cost, do legislation at my own cost, do appropriation at my own cost. That is service beyond self. That is patriotism. That because all these things that I am doing for my country, it is out of love, not out of the money that I'm going to be paid, not out of excitement, not out of the investment I made, not out of the salary that I will get at the end of it all. I sometimes look back when the scorecards of parliament come out and you find an MP being in that in parliament with that opportunity and they have 0 times they have stood up to make any statement on the floor of parliament.
Yes.
And they are paid. And we are all okay with that and it is normal.
Okay? Banji, I tell you, with the 1 minute.
That's what I'm talking about, that if we have people that are volunteering to serve this country at the legislative level, okay, then we would have people with sense that they have to submit at the floor of parliament. We have people with good minds to represent us, not people that go there just to earn a living.
Let's look at what the president is saying in defense of this money. Opposition gets money from the foreign donors.
If there is any person that has benefited from foreign funding, is President Museveni. Including back then when he was in NRA,
yes,
fighting the regime.
He got support from the West, yes. He got support from Libya.
And nobody has stopped him. Even up to today, he's still getting donations from the foreign countries. Because when they go outside and get donations or get any other support from the foreign countries, I am not directly affected as a taxpayer. Okay? Maybe that money came for a reason and they have to serve that purpose of the money. But this money should be, I'm saying, renovating a road here in Kampala, making the drainage systems in Kampala, building a school in my home village, building a hospital in your village, Edgar, making things work in a different way. Invest in infrastructure. This money would make a contribution of buying equipment that we need in our medical hospitals, and medical centers. This money would just cut the cost of us lifting an MP to go to Kenya to get the treatment of a minor offense. Okay? Sentence Sigarewan. The sentence mchifo kuzisasanya mbawaka baziteke msawo zabwe. Mziteke yozi kore milimu jafe. Do service delivery. That's all we all demand for. Nti toda ate kuleta ebyokwe kwa santi bano bazifuna mbazungu. Nawe genda yozifune zo bogaba togaba zaffe wano. Okay? Zo tujemo mu musoro. The rate at which we pay taxes here is even worrying, considering what we benefit from this. Invest this money.
Direct taxpayers temuli banji. Abasira mwekweka mu indirect taxes mungula sabuni.
Tuli banji atezi tunyigiriza nnyo. Okay? But invest in that money instead of giving it out freely. That if we have good working health centers and health systems, if we have good education, if we have and have created employment opportunities, this MP doesn't need that 100 million for what?
So I think
because if he falls sick, he will just run to Chirudu.
But already he has 40 million.
He will run to Kambuga.
How do you survive? How do you go to hospital?
He will run to Kambuga and get treatment. This is why does he need this 100 million?
Counsel that buli muluka bagwa 100 million.
Yes,
buli mubaka yafunye 100 million. Njagala just go making a sense omuntu making a decision wetyo mubongo mu maso ma psychology mulimba na mateeka. Chechibira mabega obongo bw'omuntu atyo. Just generally, even if it wasn't the person.
Generally, it is just they want to corrupt your head. If somebody wants something from you now, they have to corrupt your head mentally, psychologically. Now you will be too excited with this 100 million. Naba mutabamanyi kyakuzikozesa. Kubanga public has come out to say no, this money shouldn't have been accepted by you. Naba mbazeyo basaininga nga bazegana. Okitegera that you are still confused with that 100 million. And somebody will just now come with the proposal and say, but I gave you 100, now pass this bill. That's why you will see the eye, even when the eyes are not coming out of... Olusinga bamanyi, naye olw'okuba baali beetaaga ekikumi oba tebaagala babazibasabe bazibaggyeko, they have to pass it for the sake of it. That this is one of the form of manipulation that we have ever had. That they have to give you money first. Sometimes they know what it is meant for, sometimes they don't.
Okay, Counsel, there is something I know, privy to this information as a journalist, that even in passing, in voting for the members of the Iyala Parliament, NRM was paid its MPs. Okulonda ba MP bawe mu Iyala.
But they have
and
been
another,
paid.
that's what I'm saying. So
times.
what does it speak of a government that has to pay its own people to vote it? Like olinga awamu tabani wo okwagala n'omusasula. Do you understand what I'm saying?
It comes in that sense that you see, when people lose trust in you, now you have to resort yourself to buying them. Like they have to like you because of something that you give them. That people will now resort to giving you gifts small. So that whenever I need to be hosted at DigiTalk, I have to first send Edgar 20,000 on his mobile money. Not that whatever I come here to say is sensible or you like it, or you believe that there is something I have to preach to the government or to the public, but there is something I have given you and now you have to keep recalling me every other day. You can even decide to host me on a daily basis as if I own this show. Okay? Just because there is something I always give you. And this is what I said, that it is corrupting your mind. That today you roast me, I give you 20,000 for it. I'm not going to give you, but I'm just giving this as an example. That tomorrow when you feel you need 20,000, now you look at the guest you have ever hosted who has ever given you that money, and you will just make a call to Kato. Okay? Not that Kato.
So that means without Kato's money,
the benefit they want from you.
So that means without Kato's money, Kato does not have anything.
There is nothing to say. Okay? There is nothing to say. If you believe you have presented credible candidates that have good intentions of this country, why would you buy an MP at his level with how much they earn to vote for a Yara member from your ruling party? Just simple logic. Why? If you are a credible candidate, you have good intentions of the people to represent in parliament, why would you start giving out 2,000 to each person to vote you? You have lost confidence in yourself. You don't even trust yourself. But because you trust your money, and that's what you want to use to come into parliament and represent the people.
But if I have my money,
simple, and
if I have money,
it goes without saying. It goes without saying that because you cannot even sell your ideas, because you don't have even a manifesto to sell to the people, you resort to buying them off.
Tugende mu political parties olese manifesto tugende mu political parties party gyoyogerako ewezeza abalonzi kati milioni 18 ate bali digitalized. That's the uniqueness about this, and it looks like the only political party that is gearing up for 2026 that is ready. All other political parties seem to have some cracks and divisions. Comment on NRM and its preparation.
That political party came up in the recently held by-elections in Kawempe. Came up and said it had how many? 22,000 something?
Abalonzi.
Hey. How many votes did they get? They no longer excite us. You see, some people bring this information to excite the public. Edgar oba omukadde wange ali omukyalo alowooza nti abainarembe bangi nnyo. But when it comes to the ballot and the results that are out, including the cheating that happens, you look for the numbers nezibula.
Omusajja alina ababaka 341 numbers. That means he has 340 constituencies.
But you don't need to write to us that you have how many registered voters electronically. But you barete mu Kampala oba bateke wantu tubarabe. You get? Things should not excite us anymore. Ikawempe watu gabo ine emitwaro 22 gy'abalonzi nojayo bululu kanana. So where does
automunenya voter turn up generally voter turn up Mukawempe yali 14%, abantu 86 tebajja kulonda. So aina valid reason kusanga abange balimu aba batajja. But Vanene Chato, we have said we've said this party has manufactured numbers, but I've brought you a statistic of 341 constituencies.
It happens this way.
Let's even look at the village.
Now,
every village, NRM has 7 people.
I am not saying they don't have, they have. Let me tell you how it all happens. I was recently called, I think in the last elections, that my name had appeared in the yellow book that I have never registered in. How did they get this data in that yellow book? It's just because when Electoral Commission usually comes out to update their registers, there is somebody, and you also saw it, you're a journalist, you know this information, it was aired everywhere, that there was somebody usually there seated with the yellow book registering the people. It means that whoever went to update his details, they are captured in the yellow book. Don't get
I've heard
shocked
of
that
those
Edgar Mathew
scenarios.
Karuhanga is also in the yellow book. That's how you raise these numbers. But you look at the exact people. If you want to do a head count on all those numbers that you're talking about, those millions, you will not find them. They are nowhere. So if you have 18, you said how many? 18 million voters.
Yes.
How many voters do we have as a country in Uganda? So do you want to say that other political parties don't have voters or members? It's logic. It's logic. That you want to bring in the numbers so that it can be able to enable you cheat the next coming elections.
Okay, but
Because
okay, if he's going to cheat,
omusajja bw'aba yatugamba nti alina miliyoni 18 kati afunye miliyoni 5 kituufu
opposition yetegese etya? Because opposition gye twogerako ssebo abasingira ddala n'okubeera ab'amaanyi tebabalina n'aba flag bearers mu constituencies ezimu.
Me, I don't speak for political
No, but
parties.
okay, if you are a political scholar and someone who studies politics in this country,
Yes.
how best is the opposition going to compete against NRM with such a trajectory that we're seeing today?
You see, for you to be enabled and to be a credible competitor, you must have studied the dynamics, for example, as they unfold each and every other day. We concluded elections. What was the result like? How did it look like? 2, what other things transpired in an election that time? Like you go back and reconsider the history of how things unfolded and say this is how they happened. Now, 2026, which now new strategies do we bring on board to mitigate the other issues? Voter bribery, it was rampant. Then there was, we also had ghost voters, obviously. How do you now create solutions? Even vandalization of property, violation of human rights, intimidation at all levels, death of people and all that. Those all happened. Now, the question should be now, how do we mitigate all these other issues so that we avoid them being repeated in 2026? And I believe that most of the political parties that have followed and watched, they have had and conducted internal structure buildings.
Do you see any strategy? I am not seeing any strategy.
I have not participated in them directly to be able to tell you,
No,
but I
according to-
have had them, I have seen them organize at the party level, okay, in different areas actually, including doing countrywide tours. That's one of the reasons, that's one of the strategies I believe that they are making, if they are actually doing what they are supposed to be doing in those drives, okay. 2, that I believe that this time now political parties, most of them have started to strategize earlier, ahead. Not like they did, because you remember the 2021 elections, we had COVID, so people had no opportunity, had no much time to go to the people, to speak to them directly to understand. But when all that happens and people start planning earlier, then it's better for the country. You see, to develop democracy, you must develop yourself as an individual and also believe in what you're trying to develop.
Yes.
Which I
starts
believe
from you.
they have done. Okay? If you hear different political parties and their messages, their strategies, you believe that there is something that we are looking
do we need
out forward
political
to change.
parties today? One would say PFF is now coming aboard. They are registering it, so there is a failure or hiccup there and then. What has NUP, FDC failed that PFF is going to do better or different? My question is, when you are fighting someone who has been in power for 40 years, is this the best modus operandi of actually taking or changing power? Organizing in political parties?
Organization at all levels with good intentions is very important. It's very important. Because remember, we are not working or dealing in a normal setup of politics.
Yes.
No, it's not normal.
But this looks normal. PFF, NUP, FDC looks normal.
It's not normal.
This looks like democracy. All your political parties and that is
It's not normal.
All
You
your
see,
MPs,
political
right?
parties are used as drivers, okay? They are used as organization strategizing bodies. That there are people who will want to associate with certain political parties because of their own reason, maybe because of what it believes in,
Yes.
maybe because of who leads or heads that political party.
Yes.
That this person without that political party would have lost them into the wilderness. But because they believe in Edgar who heads a certain political party, or because they believe in an ideology brought by a political party, we shall win them to also come and participate in elective politics and also be vibrant and make a contribution. That we cannot deal away with political parties. I believe that they might have not lived to the standard as we expect them to be. Okay? But at least we are not where we used to be when we had no political parties at play in this country.
Okay.
The situation was...
No, one would say movement system maybe was better because people stood on merit to say, I am Counsel Tumusiime. But
even now in political parties...
It has become more of an antagonism.
Even now in political parties...
You've even seen yellow color, you don't wear it. You know those sentiments. It has brought about a death, a rivalry to the death.
Yeah,
politics,
it has.
Winner takes it all.
It has, but because it all starts maybe with your personality as an individual. So what do you lose when you put on a yellow card? I am putting on green. Am I DP? I am not.
No, but I'm
just
saying
because I like the card. I am saying it. I am seeing yellow in the background here. Are you NRM? you get it. All starts with your personality and maybe growth in the political setup.
Okay.
How best can you handle this kind of a situation? But I believe that political parties should have, actually they need to do more than what they are doing. That when we finish elections, now we have to go back on the drawing board and understand if we presented these candidates, where did they fail us? Okay? If we had rushed maybe to choose candidates in different areas, how best do we handle it now? Because most of the people we sent maybe did not deliver to our expectations. How do we change it now? Now start now.
The
we would have started after the
every parliament you're changing these people. I'm telling you, every parliament 75%
we shall
of that parliament does not come back.
We shall keep changing until we get the quality that will deserve the country, the people that will make a contribution that is visible.
Lastly, I want to bring in this that was mentioned by a lawyer such as yourself, that is Counsel Nicholas Opio. He says that in this country, a neurosurgeon, a politician, is paid more than a neurosurgeon.
And that's true.
And it opened my mind. A neurosurgeon, you see, that is one of the most important people in a country. And it also reminds me of the professors, how the professors or people who have credibility have actually been disqualified. Museveni asekirira nnyo ba professionals in his statements. Yeah, basekirira nnyo ba professional, bamwambala matayi. And generally, and lastly, it brings me to a point of the PhDs. These days we have some people who are getting PhDs without any thesis, without any dissertation, without any research.
I've seen a number of them writing, smiling, and they are now doctor. But it is annoying that a politician earns more than a professional. Because when you look at the qualifications of the members of parliament, for example, senior 6A level, and the law does not even say that you must have passed. Okay? As long as you got your certificate, whether with an O, and that's it. But earns more than a medical doctor, like you said. Earns more than even most of these people that have qualifications. It is sad to that level. And nobody is saying no or questioning it. Do you know why? Because the law allows these parliamentarians to sit whatever they sit and decide and make letters add and enhance the salaries of the science teachers and ignore the arts teachers. Even when most of these people in parliament are arts teachers. But the challenge we have got is that people forget where they came from. That even the doctors cannot now advocate for the rights and the pay rise, the minimum wage for their fellow doctors, but now they are concentrating because they are taking a bigger pay at the end of it all.
Yes, sir.
That another DC who basically does nothing in my district earns more than a teacher.
Yes.
Earns more than a medical doctor in the same district where they serve in. And these are the people that we believe that they have a contribution to make to this country, even more than the politicians. I believe that if we have systems in board, we can even live without politicians as MPs, like I said. Let us make it voluntary. That's my prayer still.
President of America, afuna emitwala na omwaka. Anaga dollar. The president of the United States, in a year he makes $400,000.
Yes. Yes.
Ningamba kati ono president zino sente abana bazifuna mudachika 2 wano mu Uganda. Here you find a technocrat In some ministry, you can deal with him.
Yeah, it's a deal, and that's what makes it worth that. Looking at the serving capacities and positions, we must make some of these positions voluntary. That you go to parliament to make legislations to represent your people without any expectations. President Museveni agenda zuka kumachako wakasimuke milioni 10 ochitwali. Nti omwezi nga gugwako ojja kuba weewadde ssente bwezi tinedda jangu ng'ebiruubirirwa byo byakuganyirwamu eggwanga to help this country develop and be at some point. That we create this society for the children of our children and ourselves. Yes, because kati abasinga ekisinga okunyiiza kiri kimu. Most of these people that are deciding for our country are even way much older. And they have nothing to lose in this country. They are only looking at when they shall live and die and leave the rest of this country to suffer.
They have children and grandchildren.
No, some of them actually have prepared their children. Some have taken them even everywhere, not in this country, because they feel that this country has been messed up by everybody.
I get you, Counsel Kato. As we conclude, where does the country go? And you're giving us your parting shots, sir.
Yeah, as you see, we are nearing electioneering period, but I believe that this must be a lesson on the people that you sent to represent you in the last elections. Did they serve to your expectations? If no, then why not change now? Did the 2,000 that was given you, the bar of salt, the kilo of sugar, change anything in your life? Have you benefited in the 5 years this person has represented you in parliament? If the answer is yes, re-elect them. If the answer is no, we need to reflect into our hearts and make people that have feelings, people that have conscience, people that believe in the good cause, people that have something to contribute to this country, and people that want to protect this country for me, for you, and for our children. May God bless you.
Thank you, Counsel. It was a privilege having you on the show. And of course, to our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in from the time we started up to now. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. I'll see you again tomorrow at exactly 8 a.m. We're always here having a conversation with Uganda. From the entire team, God bless you. Good morning, Uganda.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues.